Russell Wilson's going to turn 36 years old in November. Russell Wilson's just had 3 years of marked decline. Russell Wilson has had $111 million in dead cap space committed to him just to make him go away. Russell Wilson's a Steeler. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and/or baseball, both of which might be preferable paths to take at this point. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Yeah. Wilson last night, very late last night, tweeted out that he's been signed by the Steelers. It later became learned that the amount of money he'll actually be paid by the Steelers is only $1.2 million. And even later after that, it became clearer through various sourcing that he's not going to be guaranteed the starting job. But come on. Come on. Think about how all of this came together, and then try to picture yourself as a fly on the wall in that room where Wilson spent 6 hours meeting with Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith. And picture Tomlin specifically sitting across from Wilson, getting all starry-eyed. And you've seen that. You've seen that in his behavior. I'm not sharing with you anything that you don't already know. He gets that way. And that's part of what's fun about him, because he's a football lover. He really enjoys being around football people, whether they're from the Steelers or elsewhere. And he will get a little bit, not much. I'm not going over the top with this concept, but a little bit gosh wowed. And here's Russ, 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion in Seattle. Guy that a lot of teams, I'm sure, wish they hadn't passed on when he was at Wisconsin, and Steelers have to be among those. Guy he's got a pretty good chance, you would think, of heading to Canton. And there he is. He's sitting there in your office pretty much begging for work. There's got to be a little bit of something like that would have played into this. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with all kinds of statistics and grading and so forth. I will repeat that Mark Schlereth, the ESPN analyst, been around forever, former Denver player, by the way, described Wilson's season in Denver as garbage. Some of that's been misconstrued, and that wouldn't be fair to the person, as Schlereth referring to Wilson as garbage because of the way he's ticked people off and been a non-team guy and diva'd himself and everything else here. No. I went back and saw the original comments made by Schlereth. 100% of them were about his quarterbacking, how he fears throwing to the middle of the field, how he's picking up all kinds of cheap yards and elevating himself and his own health above the play that's been called, and all kinds of other really intensive football specifics. I would strongly recommend going to find it if you want to hear what I'm saying, as opposed to accepting my interpretation of it. But I'm going to repeat, it had nothing to do with the person and everything to do with the football. And Schlereth's in a long, long line of observing these same things. There's Russell Wilson, the name, the brand, the guy who led SportsCenter late last night. And then there's Russell Wilson, the reality in 2024. Now, if this were a normal situation, and let's say Ryan Tannehill were the quarterback who'd been signed for $1.2 million, what would everyone say? Oh, great. Yeah, awesome. Tannehill's in the fold. He'll be a wonderful guy for Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett to have around. That's terrific. He'll be a perfect number 3. He'll be someone who's a good soldier, someone who knows Smith's system, because he played under him for several years, excelled under him, actually. And all that kind of adds up. This scenario that I'm describing here, the one in which I am, and I'm going to emphasize this, speculating that Tomlin would have been at least a little bit, ooh, look, it's Russell Wilson. That's not going to work here. That's not going to work from the football standpoint because he's not a very good quarterback anymore. That's not going to work from the football team standpoint because he hasn't been a good teammate in forever. But it's mostly not going to work because you know, and I know, and by the way, Wilson knows, he's going to be the starter. He is unquestionably, undeniably, take it to Russ's bank, going to be the starter. And there's no defending that. None whatsoever, shy of him coming into camp this summer and just being a completely new person and a completely new quarterback. Sorry, I'm having kind of a tough time envisioning that. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George. LGKG is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents people hurt in car accidents or who need help with workers' comp or medical malpractice. When the attorneys at LGKG make you a promise, they keep it. They've been keeping promises in our region for over 80 years. LGKG's been AV rated, the highest rating a law firm can receive, and they've been designated super lawyers. That's actually a thing for over 15 years. It's a rare combination. LGKG has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them by visiting lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. LGKG. Today's J1Q comes from Scott. He says, DK, I don't think they ever wanted Mason Rudolph back. And you know what? If I was Mason, I'm not sure I'd want to come back if options opened up elsewhere. He had as much chance of being QB1 under Mike Tomlin as a random fan pulled from the stands. Am I right? I mean, I guess you are, Scott. You know, it's hard to argue with you. I know that there's things that get spoken by Tomlin, by Omar Khan, by Art Rooney, and then I know that there are things that actually occur. So when the guy running the corporation says, we want Mason back, and when the guy running the corporation says that the Steelers really became the best version of themselves, the true version of themselves, whenever Mason came along this past season, that's something that's spoken. And this is something that's done. When I say that this signing makes no sense, understand, I'm saying that regardless of Mason. I'm saying that because of everything that I just mentioned in the opening segment and don't need to repeat. But also, you have a first-round quarterback in the house who's now just relegated. There's no competition. At least where Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett were, there was going to be a competition. There won't be one now. They're going to say that there will be, but I just shared with you the value of what it is that they say. They're going to blast to the heavens how much they value competition, and nobody's going to be, what was the word that Tomlin used? No one's going to be just anointed. Yeah, as if he hasn't anointed other players to other positions in the very recent past. And it's going to be laughable. It's going to be laugh out loudable, LOLable, because it's not going to be true. They got their starting quarterback last night. They got their guy last night. And I know you asked about Mason, but I'm going to, again, take on both quarterbacks here. Why would either of them welcome this? And I understand Mason's got more of a leg to stand on than Kenny does because he's coming off a strong performance, whereas Kenny's coming off a performance in which he just lost his job on merit. But again, why would you stay here? Why would you assume that this meeting that occurred between Wilson, Tomlin, and Arthur Smith wouldn't have included some semblance of a promise that he's going to be the guy before he goes and flies to his next stop to visit someone else? There's no way Wilson was in that room and didn't hear from them. Yeah, of course you're going to be our starter. We're going to have to put up some posing and whatever else here, and you're going to be the guy. And I want to make this part really, really clear. If you replace either Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett or both with an outside quarterback, it had damned well better be somebody who's on the way up. What they got themselves instead was somebody who's been on the way down in a big way on the football field and in a historic way off the field. One more time before signing off today. The Seahawks and the Broncos have committed $111 million in combined cap hit for him to go away, only to have him be welcomed here with open arms. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone listening to Daily Shot of Steelers, and we're going to do another one tomorrow.